into my folder, and I'm going to go to, let's see here, I'm just going to find the folder that I have for my assets, look for my profile pictures, and there we go. I'm going to click on this first image here, and it placed it right inside of that eclipse. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this for all of these. Okay, so here you'll notice that some of the profile pictures are actually placed outside of the frame. The reason why I did that is so that we can set things up to include horizontal scrolling, which we'll go over a bit later. But for now, what I want to do is grab a selection or make a selection over these profile pictures, hit Command or Control G to group them together. And in the layers panel here, you'll notice that the group is actually outside of the frame. So I'm going to drag this down and put it back in and continue designing. Now we can go ahead and go up here and click on the title of the artboard or the frame, and inside the panel we can turn on this option here, click content, and what that will do is take anything that is extended beyond the frame and clip it off. I won't delete it, but it will just hide it from view. So now we can continue kind of designing this portion. Okay, so now what I want to do is create kind of a news feed underneath the friends icons or profile pictures here. So to do that, I'm going to grab one of the profile pictures and copy and paste it. And I'm just going to shrink this down a bit. We'll say about 29 points for the height. And we can drag some text down here to begin typing out the update. Now that we've finished with that section, I'm going to go ahead and start on the map area. And for that, I'm going to go into my folder and grab the map image that I have and drag that inside of the frame. Actually, I'll drag that outside of the frame and begin editing it here. And what I'm going to do is grab a few profile images and place them around the map area. Now that that's complete, I'm going to grab the pen tool and start illustrating routes for each of the runners or bikers to show where they've traveled. I'm going to group all of these elements together. To do that, I'm going to drag a selection over this entire area and press Command or Control G and place that inside of the frame. I'm going to place this in the background by pressing Command or Control Shift and the left bracket. Next thing I'm going to do is grab the rectangle tool, and what I want to create is a kind of hovering notification button. I'm also going to want to copy this shape down and create a button to begin the workout. I'm going to change the color to the red that we have in the color style. I'm also going to add some text or change the text inside start. Next, I'm just going to make sure that all of the elements inside of the map are grouped together. So again, I'm going to press Command or Control G. There is one thing I forgot to do. I'm going to address that right here. That is create kind of a fading white overlay for the Friends activity section. Now that we finished with the main design, I'm going to go ahead and start adding in the horizontal and vertical interaction. So first I'm going to grab from the Friends activity. I want to make the large profile pictures when adding a horizontal scroll to that. So to do that, I'm going to grab this group and press Command or Control plus Alt plus G. What that'll do is change that section into a frame. And now that this is a frame, I can go into the prototype kind of tab over here on the right side and change the overflow behavior. I'm going to change it to horizontal scrolling, and I'm actually going to grab the bounding box for it and make sure that it is resized properly with the frame so that I can actually interact with this section. I'm going to go down to the map area and kind of do the same thing. I'm going to change it into a frame. Again, that's Command and Control plus Alt and G. And I'm going to change this instead of horizontal scroll, it's going to be horizontal and vertical. I'm going to change the size and the bounding box, kind of make some adjustments to make sure that this is scrolling properly. Now you'll see on the right side here, we can choose which device we want to preview this design on. We're going to stick with the iPhone X, but we can also choose which orientation, as well as the color, and even the background. We're going to stick with black for this, and click on the Present button. Now after clicking this, it'll load up the device mockup, and from there we can begin kind of interacting with this. You'll notice that the map area is fully functional, so I can horizontally scroll as well as scroll vertically. Same thing goes for the Friends activity up here, up top. I can scroll through Friends horizontally. So this can be a very useful feature when you're not only designing interactive prototypes, but also when you're presenting them. If you're showing them to a team or with clients, this certainly helps with presentation. I want to thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, definitely leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.
wonderful people on the internet. How are you doing today? In this video, we're going to create a free tool up here. I'm going to click on this and just click somewhere here on the screen. And it's going to generate us a frame, which can be like one page of our website. So if I want this to be full HD, I can modify all the properties up here. So we have the X and Y, which is the position of the frame. I usually put these to 0. This is a small reset that we can do. And for the width, to go full HD, I'm going to do 1920 by 1080, because that's 1080p. Good. Now, if I hold space, I can also kind of drag this around. And if I hold Control and scroll, I can zoom out and in. Wow, amazing. Okay, I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to call this landing page. So this is the first page that our users are going to see. Okay, so what I want for this music app? Well, who makes music? This is how this is how my thought process was going on with this. Who likes music? Well, people like music. Who makes the music? People make music. So I kind of felt obligated to have a person on my landing page. And I imagined that I need to have a person that just loves and enjoys music and has like full expression on their face. So that's what I wanted to kind of include here on the landing page. So this person will use our service, and this is the feeling that we can provide to them of like joy and happiness. So I really wanted to not include illustrations or anything like that. So I found this picture, I kind of photoshopped. I'm going to include this in the link in the description as well, so you can download it and follow along easy. But as you can see, really cool picture. Again, I photoshopped it because it had a background and everything. Really expressive, and she's just enjoying herself. And she has headphones, which is a big plus, because hey, it's a music app. Alright, so I have this. The problem here is that the contrast is kind of pretty hard with this white. So I like to change this and go to a darker color. So what you can do is you can actually change the color on the frame, so on this big thing. So you don't need to drag like a box like so and put it in the background. Actually like this. It's not going in there. Okay, so below like that. You don't need to do that. You can just grab the frame here and you can change the background color here. And I found one that worked pretty well. It's 2F3038. So hit enter. There we go. So it's kind of a grayish, has maybe a tint of blue, but it's really grayish and it looks pretty cool. Okay, so we have our girl here enjoying the music. Now the second thing I want to kind of think about is what do I want in the title. So I want a big title here and a small description and maybe a call to action button that's going to tell the user what to do. Alright, so what I want in the title. Well, since I have this image, I can kind of think about a title from this image. So what is she doing here? It's like she's feeling the music. So that can be a good title. So I'm going to grab the T tool here, the T tool. It doesn't make you a T, it just makes you text, unfortunately. But hopefully they fix this in the future. And we can call feel the music here. Now this is going to be super small, but just write out feel the music. And I can drag and just copy all of this. And you can just change the color to white. I'll go all the way to white. It's still super small, so let's kind of increase the font of this. Let's go something like 72. So there we go. That was better. And we are also going to change the font in a bit, so don't worry. Good. So we have that. And let's do a subtitle here. And for this, I'm going to do something like screen over 20,000. Is that correct? 1,000 songs with one click. Alright, now this is extremely huge. It doesn't look that good. So I'm going to just decrease the font size. If I click on it, we can go here to 36. And that should look way better. Good. So we have that as well. Now, another thing we need is a call to action button. And we're going to position everything here nicely in just a bit. So for that, I'll just do a join now. We can grab the rectangle tool and just drag out the shape like so. And we can change the color. Now, for me, I kind of thought about this. I didn't really overthink the colors. I kind of just wanted a colorful and vibrant look to this website. So we have the muted background, and I want everything that I want to stick out to be really colorful. So in this case, the join now button. I click this blue one, which, let me just get the color here, is gonna be 17627. And we have this really cool bluish color. And what we can do is just drag a text on top of this. And what I can also do if we zoom in here, and just grab the graph tool, we select the text here, somewhere here. Well, we didn't write anything, so it's gone. Let's do that again. I'll just drag it out randomly, like so. I'm going to say join now. And let's make this uppercase. And what we can do is we can just choose white. Let's also make the font size smaller. Something like 24. Maybe that's a bit, yeah, that's okay. And what we can do is we can grab the join now, and we can just position it on top like so. And how can I center this straight in the middle? Well, we have the tools down here, and these can align everything horizontally. So if I hit center here, it's going to align horizontally, and these can apply vertically. So I'm going to do middle. And boom, it's perfectly centered. Really cool. Nice. So let's change the font size of this. I use Poppins for this. I really like it. I think it fits really well with this one. And let's just change everything to Poppins. There we go. And actually, I'm going to drag this a bit out so it's in one line. And we're going to position these in a bit as well. So I'm going to grab the join now here. I'm going to add Poppins as well. Good. And one thing I want to do is I really don't want these to be separate. So what I can do is I can just grab the join now and the box, and I can hit Control G, and it's going to group everything up here, and I can just rename this to button, just to keep everything a bit more organized. And what I can also do is if I open up here, I can add a bit of a rounded corner to this. So I can go up something like 5. See how that looks. So it's not that super flat. Actually, let's go with 10. Rectangle. We're going to scroll up to 10. Perfect. Let's make this a bit wider. So, yeah, a bit taller. Can play with this all day. Good. Nice. So, how do we align everything in here? Well, we can use a super cool tool that if we go on the landing page, on the frame, we have the layout grid here. So if we click plus on this one, it's going to generate this grid. Now it's super crazy complex and doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to click on this one, and this icon here. We can go to columns. We can just put 12 here. And this is going to give us 12 columns that we can easily align things to. And it's hardly visible, so I can raise it up to something like 50%. And there we go. Maybe that's too much. 30%. Good. So right now, I can align these however my heart intends. So let's do it here. Just bring it to this box here. So this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th box. I'm just going to align everything to this 5th box. Nice. Now this goes out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go to 6 actually. There you go. So everything is in one frame. Perfect. And let's put the lady all the way at the start of this one. Like so. Let's move her down so she's still in frame. That should be okay. So now when we do our nav links, we can just easily position everything in these boxes. So let's temporarily just turn this off, like so. And we can also align this kind of in the center. So if we grab everything here, holding Shift, we can Just bring this down till it's centered. So, perfect. And I kind of want to have a bit of space in between the join now. So this, usually I leave spaces in between the text so the button pops out more. So I would usually bring these up a bit, something like that, and then I have a bit more space with the button. Good, and now we can center everything. So I'm going to bring it till we have this horizontal line, and yeah, that should look okay, perfect, nice. So let's also do two navigation buttons here. Drag the text, drag, doesn't matter how we drag from now, let's drag, we're going to say this color, I'm going to change this to white, like so, and we are going to make it smaller, let's do something like 18, we might modify this if it's too small, let's do 24. Yeah, that looks a bit more visible. Okay, and we can just grab another copy of this, we can just hold Alt and drag. And then that's going to just create a duplicate here for us. But make sure you keep holding Alt, because if you let go for your mouse, then it's not going to work. So make sure to hold Alt, let go of the click, and then you can duplicate something. Perfect. Now, I don't want this big box to be here. I kind of want to drag over the text. So another cool thing you can do is just go to the three dots here, and if we click, we can just put this width tool. And look at that. It's going to auto resize to our text, and then we can just go back to fix. So just click this once and jump back. And it's going to help us align things very easily. Okay, let's go back on the frame tool, hit the column, and we're going to save this cover. I'm going to change this to white, like so. And we are going to make it smaller. Let's do something like 18. We might modify this if it's too small. Let's do 24. Yeah, that looks a bit more visible. Okay, and we can just grab another copy of this. We can just hold Alt and drag, and then that's going to just create a duplicate here for us. But make sure you keep holding Alt, because if you let go for your mouse, then it's not going to work. So make sure to hold Alt, let go of the click, and then you can duplicate something. Perfect. Now, I don't want this big box to be here. I kind of want to drag over the text. So another cool thing you can do is just go to the three dots here, and if we click, we can just click this width tool. And look at that. It's going to auto resize to our text, and then we can just go back to fix. So just click this once and jump back. And it's going to help us align things very easily. Okay, let's go back on the frame tool, hit the column, and let's align this. So I kind of want these at the end here. I'm going to drag this discover here, and the other discover, let's rename this. This is going to be called join. Alright, so since I'm aligning everything at the start here, then I'm going to do the rest with the other designs as well. So at the start here, and these are going to be at the start as well. Perfect, so we've got discover and join. Great, let's get going with the logo. So we can just hit the frame tool. I'm going to hit here, and that's going to create us a 100 by 100 frame, which is fine, don't worry. And we're going to drag the circle tool here, and I'm going to drag out let's go 60 by 60. I think that's big enough. There we go, let go. And what I thought for this is I kind of want to have a waveform, so a sound waveform kind of a logo here. And for that, I'm going to just get rid of this fill, and we're going to add a stroke. I'm going to increase the stroke to 3 pixels. We're going to get rid of this fill, so we're left with this circle, and I kind of want to make this colorful. So rather than picking random colors, I'm kind of just going to use everything I have up here. And actually, we're going to use another pinkish color in this design. So I'm going to use this blue one and that pinkish that we're going to use on the other pages. So let's add a linear gradient to this. I'm going to hit the circle tool, and let's go to stroke here. And we are going to go from solid to linear. Perfect. And we can actually just hit the blue here. Wow, nice. And we can go to this one down here. Now, by default, it's opacity 0, so we need to bring it up to 100. And you can change the color too. Let me make sure I use the same pink. So we are consistent here across all. And that color is going to be B, C, 3, A, 8, and 0. Here we go. Look at that. That's pretty cool. Good. So we have the outline of our logo. Now let's do the small waveforms. So for that, I'm just going to grab the line tool here. I'm going to just drag out a small line. There we go. Not too big, not too small. Click on it. I'm going to increase this 3 pixels as well, the stroke size, just so I'm consistent with everything that I have here. So this is 3, this is 3. And I kind of don't want to have this super straight edges here. So we can change that if we hit these 3 buttons down here. And we can change the cap to round. Look at that. Beautiful. Very nice. Let's also just copy this. I'm going to hold Alt and drag. There we go. We have 2. We can drag again. And it's selecting this big image. So let me just close the lock this layer here so we don't accidentally select this one. I can just grab it like that. Drag it out. And just drag this up. Now don't worry, these are not aligned. We're going to fix this in just a bit. Let's drag it one more time. This is going to be even bigger. Boom. One more. And I'm going to copy the smaller one now. And we're going to go back all the way to the smallest. One more, just so we are consistent. So we have 2 small ones, 1 bigger one, 2 bigger ones, and then we're just going backwards. Nice. Let's grab all of these, move them right in the middle. Now these are not in the middle, and well, don't worry, Figma is here to save us. We can just go up here, and if we select everything, so make sure everything's selected, we can click on the Align Vertical Centers. And voila, boom, look at that. Everything is perfectly aligned. Nice. We can just drag this and center everything like so. And what we can do is, rather than adding a linear gradient to all of these, I'm going to leave them like so. And I'm just going to grab them and just group them up. So I'm going to group all the lines up like so. Okay? Now, how do we add a linear gradient to all of these? Well, watch this. We can grab the rectangle tool. I'm just going to drag a rectangle across these and move them kind of like across all of these. Let me bring down the opacity a bit so you can see what I'm doing. Bring it across all of these, okay? Just like that. Now, I'm going to bring back the opacity to 100, and I'm just going to add the linear gradient to this box. Linear, and we can use the same colors. I'm going to do the blue, and for this one, I'm going to do the pink one. Good. And now what I can do is, with this rectangle, I'm going to leave it above here, and if I select the lines, so the lines, I can use them as a mask. So all we need to have here is the box on top with the gradient. We have the lines as a group here, and just grab the lines and hit mask. Look at that. Everything just works like magic. You can just grab all of this with Shift, and you can just group them up again. You can do this logo. Bada bing, bada boom. You create a logo. We can just drag this up here. Let go. And we can also add a title here that we're going to call Soundwave. Let's go to text, drag out here. We're going to call this Soundwave. So, perfect. Let's make this bigger. Let's do 30 pixels. We're going to change the color to white. Great. Let's also make sure we align everything. We can delete this frame. We don't need it anymore. The one that we use for a logo, we can just turn this back on. And I can just kind of drag this, position this, grab both of them, and drag it and align it to the second one again. Beautiful. And we can also just kind of move this up so it's in the same line as this one. As you can see, we have that line just to make sure it's in the same line. because it's not going to look that cool. It's kind of, yeah, we need to have everything centered here. It's just going to make our design look way better. Good, we can turn this off. And what I'm missing here is this kind of feels a bit empty to me. And I kind of want to bring these colors up in this landing page. So what I can do is, well, since her face is like, I'm enjoying the music so much, I want to add kind of like background bubbles that are not super visible, but they're there. That's gonna bring out the color of the music. That made no sense. I apologize. But what I kind of want to do is just add a bit of color to this. So what I can do is I'm going to grab the Eclipse tool, grab and just drag out some circles here. I'm going to leave one here. I'm going to add the pinkish color that we use. Just bring down the opacity to something like 10%. And we can just drag this down so it's in the background, so below the lady. Now with that, we have that small circle there. Let's add another one. We can just copy this one, drag it up here, make it smaller a bit, hold shift, some, drag it up here. Let's add the blue for this one. Change it to 10%. And let's add another one in, let's do it in the corner here. Alt tab, drag, to make it bigger. Just kind of position it there in the corner. So here we go. We finished our landing page. We added a bit of more color. We added a bit of a more personality to this landing page. Nice. All right. Hope you're ready. Let's get going with the second one. So for the second page, what we're going to do is we're going to pretty much do the same thing. We're going to grab the frame tool, click, and we're going to do 1920 by 1080. So we're going to do the same thing. Hit enter. It's going to create us a frame. I'm going to call this feature. And what I want to have here is kind of a reason why people would want to sign up to our service. So I want to have album covers, different categories of music that they can see. And hey, if they might be interested in, then they can sign up. So here I kind of want to have a bit of a visual of the different music that you can find on the website. Well, let's add the color, the same color that we used up here. That's fine. Let's keep everything more consistent. There we go. And I provided a few images here, which you can get. I'm just going to copy them and paste them in here. And look at that. There we go. We have 4 images. And I kind of just position these like in a box, like so. All right, so we have 4 images in here. If yours are scattered around, you can just kind of grab them and position them together like so. They should be the same size, so everything is okay. Now the cool thing you can do is if you grab all the images here, you're going to see that there's this pink thing here. So if you want to rearrange the items, you can just grab this pink thing and look at that. You just let go, and look at that. You can easily rearrange everything that we want. So we bring these up. Great. Let's drag these up here, kind of center them. Like so. Nice. Now don't worry, we're going to superbly position this in just a bit. Let's add a title here, and for that I'm just going to say Discover New Music. Discover New Music. Let's grab everything, change this to white, and what I kind of want to have below here is just a few cards that shows us different kinds of music that we can find. So the charts, maybe albums, and more. Copy this, paste it in here, and let's create the card system. We're going to grab the rectangle tool. We're going to drag out a small little box here. Let go. And to emphasize this, I kind of just want to grab the background image that we have here and just make it a bit darker. So let's go to the fill here. And the color I'm going to use is going to be 20027. As you can see, it's kind of the same color as this, just a bit darker. Let's zoom in here. And what I want to do is I just want to add these different images on top. Now this is going to go below. Actually, let's rename this. This is going to be charts. I'm going to place it. I'm going to bring down the rectangle, so it's going to be on top. I'm going to bring it up there. That's good. And I'm going to just add a text down here. It's going to say charts. huge. Let's make it small. 24 pixels. Let's make this white. And we can also align everything. Remember, just here, hit center. There we go. Perfect. We can also take everything that we have here and just combine it. So we have the rectangle, we have the charts, and we have the text up here. All of these three. And Control G, and we have a group. And this is going to be the charts part. And what we can do is we can actually just duplicate this. We can drag it. We can drag it again. Perfect. And we can just replace the images in these two. So where are you? Okay, so let's grab this one. This is going to get rid of this. Delete. Drag the album up here. We need to make sure that this is going to be in here. Okay. Rename this albums. This is going to be the albums part. Good. Let's do the last one. Let's close these so we have more space going on here. This one is going to be more fun. Okay. We're going to grab the microphone, delete it. We're going to grab this one, and we're going to just drag it in here. So we can drag it on top. Perfect. Very nice. Let's rename this to more. Okay. We just made a small card system here. Nice. Let's actually make this a bit smaller, or we can just make this a little larger. Oh, never mind. We don't want to do that because we're going to send the SVG here. So let's go in here and grab the rectangle. Let's make it a bit larger. Bring down the text a bit, just to make everything more spaced out. Yeah, I think that looks a bit better. And we can do the same with these. So to grab the rectangle, drag it out, and reposition everything nicely. Good. Let's go to the last one. Actually, it's the first one. Drag this out. Good. Let's drag this down. And this. Perfect. Very nice. And you know what? We can actually make these thicker a bit as well. I know. You can do this forever. You find yourself repositioning everything for 10 hours. Okay. Check this out. Actually, let's just copy the same height and width from this. So this is going to be 136. So on this one, 136. And the first one, 136. Okay, perfect. And position this as well. Make sure everything is centered. Alright then, move on. Because I can work on this for 10 hours. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Good. Close everything up. And let's position these as well. What we can do is just grab all three, like so, and we can distribute everything ID up right here. Boom. It's going to center everything nicely. Very nice. You can also drag these here. And again, if you want to reposition, you can just drag like so. And you can switch between these, but I'm going to leave them like so. Charts, and let's rename the text. This is going to be albums. And this one is going to be more. Where are you at? Here you are. More. Beautiful. Good. And let's also add a small text here. Drag out another one, and we're gonna just say beautiful things that people want to hear. By joining, you can benefit. By listening to the latest albums release. How wonderful! You can grab everything here. Let's make this 30 pixels, make it a bit bigger. Good. And we can align everything to the right, to the left. Like here, everything is aligned to the left. Very nice. Now what I also want to have is, I kind of want these to kind of fit with this image here. Okay? So what I want to do is I kind of want to drag it till it arrives to this. Okay? So everything is going to look better if everything is just well organized and it's the same height. What we can do is we can just align everything vertically. Hit the arrow here just to do it vertically. Oh, that's actually going to mess things up here. So what we can do is we can grab these albums and we can just group them together. So they're one. That's good. We can just grab everything again and we can do distribute vertical spacing. Good. And this still doesn't look good because this takes up too much space, as you can see, because the box is way bigger than the actual text. So again, what I recommend you to do every time you work with this is just hit the outer resize to the width, and it's going to make it the same size as the text. This one's okay. This one, again, see, as you can see, it's way bigger than it's supposed to be. So we can just do width. And that's actually going to mess it up because we have it on 2 lines. Let's just bring this up a bit. Alright, grab this again, and drag everything down here. Let's try it again, just to do vertical spacing. And there we go, we should have a pretty decent alignment of the text. And one thing I almost forgot, let's just make sure that everything is well organized in here. So let's go to the feature page again, and just make sure we add a grid to this. So let's go to layout grid, hit plus, we're going to click here, we're going to do columns 12, and we're going to bring it to 50%. So let's just align this everything nicely. Again, just grab this, bring it to this line, and so this is going to be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th line. Okay, center it, and let's grab these as well, and make sure it's at the beginning of the 2nd line. There we go. And now we have a bit more harmony. Okay, so for the last page, I kind of either want to have something like a contact page, or actually, you know what, since this is a service, how about we give the people a chance to sign up? So let's create another frame, again, 920 by 1080, this is going to be standard, and let's drag it up here, and this is going to be the sign up. Perfect. And let's use the same color again in the background, click here, very nice, and it's not working. Why not work? There we go. This clip. Okay, the sign up. So I want to have the form here where people can join. And for that, let's grab the rectangle tool and just drag out a box. So, very nice. Drag it up here. Need a bit taller. So, now again, I can just use things from the previous design. So I can give it the background color. If I hit the I button, just sample this color. Now look, we have a frame where we can put our input. Let's make this a bit wider, actually. So we have a bit more space going on here. And let's also add let's do a bit of a rounded corner here. So let's drag this up here. This is something like 20. This is going to be a bit more super round. Here. And in here, we'll just create some forms. We can grab the text tool, we can drag, we can do the same name. We can change the color to white. We can make this way smaller, even like 18 pixels, that's too small. 24. Still feel like it's too small. Should be okay. Okay. 24, let's also make sure that we auto resize this with the width. And let's also add double dots here. It's colons, not double dots. Somebody called me out. He's like, Ed, double dots? What are you talking about? I just make up things while I go. Why do I have space in here? Okay, just name. And for the input, I'm just going to drag out another one of these rectangles. So it's going to be around 60 pixels. And let's change the color. Let's get rid of the fill. I'm going to add a stroke. We're going to get rid of the fill. And let's add this bluish color that we used previously. Perfect. And let's also add some border radius to this as well. Let's do 10. Okay. Very cool. Let's make sure that this is aligned here. And let's make this bold. Or medium. We'll look medium, yeah, so it pops out a bit more. this is going to be around 3 pixels. We can do 2. This is 1 right now. Let's do 2 pixels, so it's a bit more visible. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, I'm happy with this. You can just grab these 2. This is bothering you, you can always lock it so you can easily grab things. You can just bring this down. Just do 25 distance, that's fine. And just name this email. And let's drag another time and create the password. And bring this out. Very cool. And let's also do a sign up button. And you know what? I recommend you to cheat. So click on this, copy, just paste it down here. There we go. We're cheating now. I'm going to actually bring this in the center here and drag this out to match the size of the boxes. Very cool. There we go. We just grab everything. We can do vertical spacing. There we go. And we can just grab everything and just kind of bring these up a bit maybe and give this button a bit more space. So I kind of want this to stick out a bit more. There we go. Look at that. We have our form ready to go. Let's also add a small title here to get people to sign up. I'm just going to say join the fun. Can't see that. Let's make this bigger. Let's go way big. There we go. And let's also add a bold to this. I want to emphasize. There we go. Join the fun. Very nice. Okay. What else do we need to do? Well, I kind of want to bring this out a bit. I don't like the way this looks. Let's make it white. Now let's see how that looks. I'm going to center this with the box. Like so. Okay. And you know what? Let's change the last word here. We're going to make it bigger. Something like so. Join the fun. Maybe that's too big. I'm just trying to get really creative right now. Let's do 96 on this one. And let's make these smaller. Let's do these 72. Yeah, just messing around. You can just select the text there. And let's add the pinkish color to this. I don't know. I think it looks cool. I like it. Like this, make sure it's centered. Actually, we can just grab the tool here, same we did with this. Just add the layout grid, and we can do the grid column. We can do the count to 12, and we can just increase this to %. Make sure we align everything properly. Bring it to this line. Again, this one is a bit messed up, so we need to do width. Let's go back to fixed. You can just easily stick that there. Very nice. Just around there, it's fine. You can just grab this box. This one is locked, so I'm going to unlock it. Then I'm going to bring this right here to this one, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Bring it to the center. That's fine. I'm happy with that. Good. Let's also add a footer here. You can disable this, and then we should be ready to go. Drag the sign up, disable this, and let's add the footer down here, and drag out the box. So, make sure we put it in the sign up. Okay. Should be good. Drag this here, drag this in here. I'm going to sample the same color. Actually, should we do darker? Ooh, I don't even know. Let's see if this color looks good. Yeah, I like the way that looks. Fits everything more well. You know what? We can actually bring these a bit up. There we go. A bit more space. Very nice. Let's do about us in here. About us. We're going to do a contact. white. So otherwise, we cannot see, and that's not good. Very good. Let's also do a Twitter and a Facebook. Before I actually do this, let's make sure. Never mind, we're going to do it after. I'm just going to drag this out 2 more times. We're going to do Twitter here and Facebook here. Facebook. Perfect. And I actually have 2 icons for this. Give me 1 second. I'm going to drag these out. It's just a simple Twitter icon and a simple Facebook icon. There's one. Twitter. Mr. Facebook, Mr. Zuckerberg is there as well. Good. Very nice. Kind of drag this around like so. Drag this around like so. And now we can just go back to the grid, turn the grid back on, and we can align these. I'm going to do the second one, so it kind of aligns with this as well. Just drag the box. Do the second one, here, drag it down. Now we're going to do align there. Same goes with this. Drag it in here, here, drag this down. Make sure it's the same height, so I'm going to drag it until it clicks. There we go. Next one. Maybe we can make it a bit taller. Yeah, I kind of want to actually make it the same height as our footer, so it's perfectly centered. Anyway, just drag it up here. If you cannot see it, we can actually turn this off a bit for now. So just drag this till it fits the footer, so it's perfectly centered. Okay? And we're going to do the same with the other ones as well. So turn back the grid, just quickly go here, and then zoom in a bit, because I'm blind. Drag this in here. And where did I want these? Let's do the last 2. So one's going to be here, and Twitter is just going to be here. Now we have 2 here, so I'm going to align the Twitter logo here. I'm kind of just going to put this in the center. Up the logo. Something like that. Okay? And take this as well. Bring it in here. Bring it in here. And just I need to drag this more out because I have no other choice right now. So please make sure your logos match up and everything else. And if this sticks out a bit, it is what it is. Just make sure you can get it as close as possible. So something like that should be fine. Also, again, make sure the size of this matches to the footer. So we're going to bring this down. Okay. Bring this up. Bring this down. Make sure everything matches. Again, I'm going to just bring this out a bit so we can get the logo in there. Perfect. Very nice. So let's turn off the grid, and there we go. Now what you can do is you can take everything in this group and group it. And what WebDev Simplified is going to do is he's going to include it across all the pages. So you can just take all of these, group it up, like so, and then this group, we can call it nav. We can just pretty much move it across all of our pages. So, okay, there we go. Let's also make sure that we check out prototype. That's a super cool feature that Figma has. So what I can do is I can click on this Discover button, and maybe I want to go to this page. So on the Discover button, I can go to Prototype, and I can use something called the triggers here. So I can use something like on-click, while hovering, while pressing, mouse enter. I'm going to do on-click right now because I want this to pretty much bring me to the second page. So we're going to hit on-click. Action is going to be to whichever page I want to go to. And in this case, I want to go to the feature page. So there we go. Hit the feature page, and we're going to get this small line that's going to show us where it's going to go. And here, we're going to have a few options. So the action is going to be the page we're going to visit. And the transition, we can pick different transitions. We can do dissolve, which is pretty much going to just fade out the first page and bring us to the second one. We can also do something like move in or move out. So I'm going to do move in, move out, I'm not sure. Let's do move in. There we go. And we can also choose the direction. So maybe I want the page to come down from the bottom to the top. We can pick a duration. I'm going to do 800 for this. So this is in milliseconds. So 1000 is going to be 1 second. And we can choose also an easing function. I'm going to do ease in and out. Let's see if this works. I'm going to hit the play button up here. This is going to mean present. And by default, I think the sizes are going to be quite messed up here. So it's going to be super zoomed in. So I'm going to hit the, where's the thing? Yeah, just here. I'm going to do fit. So it's going to scale down to fit. There we go. And we can hit on the discover. And look at that. We're going to get this nice page transition up to the second page. Very nice. Let's close this up. Hit escape. And you can close it in here. And what we can do is we can also transition to the join, to the last page. So again, let's do trigger. I'm going to actually show you a different one. We can click the sign up, which is going to be the last page. Let's do a, let's try the push. Is this interesting? Okay, so this is just going to push it to the next page. Let's also add a different direction. I'm going to leave the default one. Let's see how this one looks. 800, and do ease in and out. Let's take a look. Click. I'm going to choose scale to fit again. And let's hit join. There you go. You can get cool different animations going. Now what you want to do is a bit of a challenge for you, so this video doesn't take till tomorrow because the sun is already down. Let me close this. You can actually just copy this nav and just bring it down here. So I'm going to do it really quickly. So, and you can use it across all the pages. So when you're navigating, make sure to center these very nicely. And then when you're prototyping now, you can just click across all the pages. So you can go from each page to the next one. So join, you can go to discover. As you can see, we have the cool transitions going on. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed this one. I'm sorry for the lasted quite a bit. But yeah, hope you're enjoying this. Yeah, as you can see, you can barely see me anymore because it's getting super dark. But yeah, please drop a subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And also make sure you head over to WebDev Simplified and watch this website getting built out. So again, it's going to be in the description and the card is probably going to pop up again. I'm not sure if I can do it the second time. But hey, it is what it is. Alright guys, thank you again so much. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace and love.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Build UX. In this how-to, we're going to learn how to design complex components in Figma. The components we're going to build have variations in theme, layout, and subcomponents, so we'll be taking advantage of Figma's layout grids and instant swapping to make it possible. We're going to design multiple variations of a card UI, but the approaches we'll cover can be used to build components at any scale and complexity. Before we get started, let's take stock of the elements we'll be building with. Here we've broken things out with an atomic design mentality. So starting off, we have design particles for our spacing, as well as color swatches that we use throughout the design. Next up, we have some design atoms for our typography, we have an image watermark, and also a chevron icon that we use. Lastly, we have design molecules for our buttons and our text links. If you'd like to see how to build these button components that can be swapped for various color, theme, and states, and also adapt based on the text width, check out the Build UX video on how to design flexible button components in Figma. The link will be in the description. For these text links, they were built using the exact same approach as the buttons, so they also have multiple states and themes that we can swap between. The strategy used to build both the buttons and the links is a good starting point for how we can approach designing more complex components. We're just going to take things to the next level to allow for more intricate layouts and variations. So to get things started, we have an organisms section of our design files, and we have this frame that's prepared for our cards that we're going to build. Let's start building out an initial card component, which will act as a master component, and we'll use this as basically the starting point for all variations of our cards. So to kick things off, let's select our card's artboard here, and I'm going to hit R to bring out the rectangle tool, and let's just drag out a rectangle of any size to act as the backing plate for our card. I'm going to set the width to be 360, and in terms of the height, we still have to account for all the vertical spacing of different elements in the card, so let's just set it around 500 as a start, and then from there we can always adjust further. Okay, and with that background that we created, let's change the fill to be this charcoal 23 value as part of the color swatches that we established. Next up, let's give it a slight border radius, so let's give it 4 pixels all around on all 4 sides. And then let's also add an effect layer. Let's do a drop shadow. For the blur, I think I'm going to want the blur to be pretty high, so let's say 32 on the blur. I don't want any X displacement, so we'll keep that at 0. Y looks good at 4 pixels. And the opacity, since it is on a dark background, let's bump this up to around 50%. Okay, so that's looking good here. Let's adjust things to be spaced evenly within our frame, just to keep our design files organized. All right, now we have the backing plate of our initial card component established. Let's go ahead and rename this rectangle to be card plate. And from here, we can start working on the subcomponents of this initial card design. So I think we're going to start by designing for the maximum use case of this card. And it'll include an image up top, a title, some paragraph copy, and a call to action button at the bottom. And what we'll do is basically we'll establish this as the master or primitive component, and then from here we'll create variations of the card that may have fewer elements or different combinations of subcomponents within it. But basically we want to account for what's the maximum use case as a start, and that way we can figure out all the different spacing rules that we'll need. So for the card image at the top, let's use a rectangle tool, and let's just drag out a rectangle that matches the width of our card. So let's make sure this is 360 in width, and it's also aligned to the center. Now in terms of establishing the height, we could just eyeball it, but as I mentioned at the beginning, with our design particles, we actually have these spacing components that we can use to help make decisions for us. And these spacers basically keep everything on a nice grid with a nice scale to them so that everything feels rhythmic. So I'm going to drag in this 192 by 192 spacer, and we can use that really quickly as a reference to snap in the height of our card image. While we're at it, let's rename this rectangle to be card image. And I think this spacer is going to be one of many as we start scaffolding out the layout rules within this card. So let's just group this and rename it to be the spacing layer. Cool, and we can just toggle that off when we're not using it. With this card image, I want to match the border radius on the top left and top right. So we're going to hit this independent corners feature in Figma. The top left is going to be 4 pixels. The top right is also going to be 4 pixels. Now we see that it matches the rounded corners that we have on the card plate. Just to finish this off, let's go back to our Components tab here. And under the Images components, we can drag in this watermark component that we created and just get it centered up in our card image. So let's drag this down in our layers. We can maybe rename this to be the card image watermark. And then while we're at it, let's call this the plate. We can group these 2 layers now and just call this the card image. And that takes care of the first subcomponent that we'll need in this card. Next up, I want to figure out the left and right spacing for the text content as well as the button that we'll have in place. So we'll go back to our Components tab. Let's open up our spacing, and let's drag in a 32 pixel square spacer that we'll use. We can turn back on our spacing group and drag this down. Basically, I know I want 32 pixel margin on the left and right of our card, so we'll drag out instances of this spacer to reflect that. And I think I also want the same spacing rules to hold true for the space between the card image and the content, as well as the content and the bottom edge of the card. Next up, let's hit T for the text tool, and let's drag out some paragraph text here. And we can use these spacers to help basically size that layer up. So let me get that restored here instead of clicking off. And first up, let's make sure our text alignment is going to be left aligned. And within this, we can type out the words, "The discovery process" will be the title of this card. So I'm going to make this fill go to this birch color so we can see what we're doing here. And in terms of the type spec, we actually want to apply the title text style. So with this in place, we now can size our text box as needed to make sure it has the correct vertical and horizontal spacing that we're looking for. And now after this title, we have paragraph spacing on this text style. So we can simply hit enter to go to a new line, and then I'm going to grab some copy that we'll want to paste in here. This will just be some paragraph text that we'll use. And so we can just paste that in place and make sure that this text instead uses the copy default text style. So we'll click that. Now you can see that we have this more paragraph text style in place. From here, one thing that's handy is to basically look at using rulers where the bottom of the line height for this text comes into play. We'll want to drag in a ruler that matches the bottom edge here. And what we can do from here is grab this paragraph layer and have it snap to that ruler. I don't think we'll need this ruler for anything else, so we can delete it. It's just a temporary helper to establish the correct dimension of this text box. But this should mimic the actual typographic layout that we'll see when we implement this in an actual website. So it's good to always base the frames that we have around our text based on the actual line height as we see it when the text is selected. All right, so I'm going to drag this text layer down below the image and above the plate. Let's call this the card body. Next up, I think the last element we need for this particular use case in our card is going to be a button component. So we built those buttons ahead of time, and I think we're going to want this default birch button to come to play. So now a really cool thing of using these spacers is our buttons actually have this extra spacing around them, which if we were to toggle between instances for the button component, you see that this is actually a placeholder for a focus ring. But in actuality, outlines and focus rings shouldn't affect surrounding layout. So we'll want to revert this to our default instance of the button and align things based on the actual button background to achieve the spacing that we're looking for. So spacers are a handy way to basically predict the actual dimension and how it will affect the layout while still retaining that vertical rhythm that we're going for. Now I'm going to temporarily grab this spacer that we use for the left and right margin and just drag it down to our button so that way we can get the left and right spacing dialed in as well. And so with that established, I think we can probably get rid of this particular spacer for now. And as I mentioned, this layer is just a temporary working layer to quickly get things arranged as needed, but a huge advantage of keeping these spacing components inside of your components or your designs in general is it's basically great documentation when it comes time for a developer handoff. So if you were to hand off this design to a developer and you see these spacing rules shown as you see it here, it's really handy for the developer to figure out what the actual margins are between elements instead of relying on things like the component frames to guess at how much spacing around they might need.
The time has finally come. Today, you make your first screen in Figma. In this video, I'll talk about the basics of Figma, and I'll try to design a random app. And as I do this, I'll talk about all the features of Figma that you need to get started. Within 30 minutes, you're going to be designing. So this is an exciting video. Let's get started.
To give you a little background about what Figma is. Figma is a screen design tool. It's an interface design tool for Mac, for Windows. So it's web-based. It also has apps that you can use on your computer. But what you can do is you can create screens, you can prototype, you can collaborate with teams, you can leave comments, you can share feedback, and you can even use it for handoff when you're working with developers. So check this out. This is what it is. I talked about this in a previous video, but the reason I'm talking about Figma in this course rather than something like Sketch, Adobe XD, Photoshop is that Figma is, like compared to Sketch, it's at parity and has more features in fact than Sketch does. It works on all platforms, and design teams all over the world are switching to Figma. So learning Figma, you're ahead of the curve. The reason I'm doing Figma over XD is XD is just not ready for real products. So as of making this video, XD is missing a lot of things that you will need to make a decently sized app. So while you can definitely go check it out, and learning any one of these tools, Sketch, XD or Figma, makes it super easy to use the others because they're all pretty similar in some ways. Alright, so let's get into it. This is the interface when you open a new file in Figma. So what you can see is there's a panel on the left, there's another panel on the right, and in the center here you have an infinite canvas. This goes on for as long as you want. When you open a file, when you want to start something, the first thing you do is you create a frame. You can either do this or you can just press the F key. And what happens on the right here is it asks you what device you're designing for. You've got phones, you've got tablets, desktop, Apple Watch, paper if you're making something for print, and it even has a few templates for social media. I'm just going to go ahead and choose the iPhone X. It appears on the left here as well. Now I can change this to whatever name I want. Home screen. For now I'm just going to leave this as iPhone X. Alright, so you have a blank canvas. What do you do next? Now I'm going to pick a random app to sort of design, and in the process I'll show you what the different features Figma has. So I went to this site called App Idea Generator. Let's see, let's shuffle up. Cooking app, discovering cities. Cooking app for discovering cities. You come in and you say you can explore by cuisine. Maybe there's a map. Let's see a few more. A calculator. A notes app for online shopping. Calculator for recording meetings. Yeah, this could work. But not a calculator, but just a app to record meetings. Okay, I think we should do this. Give this a name. What are we going to call this app? An app for recording meetings. What I just did here is I pressed T, and T is the type tool. It's up there. You can just click anywhere on the canvas and you can start typing. I'm going to do that again. What should we call this? Meeting. Meeting. This, if you notice, is happening outside the artboard. These are just some notes I'm taking to get started. So, the first screen that I want to design is a splash screen. This is when I first open the app, it shows me the logo and it says Meetup. So maybe I'll call this one splash. Now, what I normally do is I name my artboard and I usually put a number there so it sort of shows the flow as well. So let's just lay out what our screens are going to be. And if you watched my previous video on design process, this is not how it works. This is not, you just don't immediately start in the tool. The purpose of this video is just to explain Figma, so I'm going to do it this way. Typically, you would start with some research, find other apps that do something similar. You would start with the information architecture, laying out what the app should be like. Then you would do wireframing, you would start running it on paper. And only then would you come to the tool. But I'm just going to do it here for the purpose of this video. So I have a splash screen. Let's skip logins for this. Second screen can be my meetings. This can be maybe a list of all the meetings I've created. And this should probably have a button which says you created a meeting. So I think let's just start with this. You click an artboard and now you're ready. And when you do this, you notice this right panel here changes. This right panel in Figma is where all of the editing happens. This is what we will be using to create more stuff. Let's say I just wanted to create something really quick right now. What I would do is I'd go here, use the rectangle tool, which is R. Let's say I want to draw an app bar on top here. What size should this be? I'm just going to keep it random for now, but I'll talk about how you figure things like that out. Now, as I created that, you notice there's a new layer that's been created. So this panel on the left is actually the layers panel. It holds all your frames, and then within each frame, it shows you what layers you made. So let's say I want to now add some texture. Let's meet it. You see, as I move this, this sort of shows me these red lines. These are alignment lines that Figma uses to show you where you're placing something. This can be really useful when you're moving things around. So now I have maybe a list item here for me. So I'm gonna maybe put something like that. Write some text. Design review Monday. Let's say this is the name of the meeting. And you know, at this point you might be wondering, what is this guy doing? Like, this looks like shit. But trust me, I'm just laying stuff out so I know what to design once I get started. This was taken yesterday, recorded yesterday, and you see this thing I did here. What I did was duplicated this layer. You either hold this down, press the Option or Alt key, and just drag it out. That duplicates it. Or you can do Command D as well. That duplicates it as well. Don't worry if you're thinking about what the shortcuts are. Just right here, you can see all the shortcuts that you will. So it's all good. No need to feel intimidated right now. Alright, so design review Monday. Maybe I recorded this yesterday, and maybe it was a 24-minute meeting. 24 Okay, and let's say this is my list file. So now what I'm going to do is, you see, I'm going to select these layers. As I do that, the relevant layer gets selected on that. And I'm going to do a command G. What command G does is it creates a group. And this group contains the layers that I just selected. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this and create two more, right? Here we have this app. It's looking pretty shit, but hopefully you got some idea of Figma. And I'm going to just remove this splash screen for now. Let's just do this screen. Now, you want to add a status bar to the top. If you've seen an iPhone X, it has a status bar. How do you do that? You're not going to recreate it. So the trick to that is you have templates that are used, whether you're designing for Android or you're designing for iOS. And these templates contain the standard elements that you might need to make an app. Alright. So I've opened this up. These screens here are fully edited. Like this is a massive thing. You can see you have all these. And there's no need to be intimidated by this. It's a huge file. And it's organized really well. So you might have some difficulty for understanding it. But I was just going into this and trying to break down what's happening. Now, to give you a little story, the way I got started in design, I would take apps. Actually, I started with websites. So I would take a website, I would take a screenshot of it, and then I would try recreating it in Photoshop, and that's what we used back then. So what I'm now going to do is, you just saw what I did. I went into this here, I selected this string, I did a command C, command V, just copy pasted this into my file. Now I'm going to use this as reference. So one of the first things I need is this status bar on the top. And I'm just going to copy and paste it onto my own. Now you see it pasted somewhere in the center. Now if I want to take it to the top, I can either just drag it like this, or another thing I can do is I can use these alignment options on the top. This is what it does. So picking this left aligns it to the left of your frame. This is center, this is right, and this is top. Now what I'm going to do is this height, I don't really know what it should be, but I'm just going to copy what this is. This is a height of 120. I'm going to do that. Now if I want to nudge this, what I can do, I can just use my keys, my arrow keys, or I can just use my... Now I'm going to change this style to something, I don't know what I should change it to, but this is not the best way to browse fonts. If you're looking for fonts, I'll cover this in a future video, but fonts.google.com is the best place. You can easily browse fonts, and you can also type in your word and see what it looks like. What would I want to use? Balu Baijan. So Figma by default loads all Google fonts within here, so which makes it very easy. You don't really need to go here, click this, download, and all of that stuff. Alright, so I'm going to change this style now. I'm going to make it 2016. So I'm going to style this. Now this rectangle here, I want to style it to be different color. Now, of course, I don't even know what my brand colors are going to be. It's just something I'm making up on the spot. Maybe something like this. Looks cool. I could change this text to white. Now you see what I'm doing here is I'm selecting layers, and then I'm going on the right here and I'm manipulating their styles. And a lot of UI design, that's what it's about. It's about knowing what styles to apply and developing an intuition for how you should style certain things. This color picker here is something you will see very often. You use it very often. On yours, it might be on RGB, but I use HSB values, and I'll talk about this in a future video about picking colors. So you notice when I'm on HSB, this number is the only thing that changes when I do this. Saturation is the y-axis, and saturation is the x-axis, and brightness is the y-axis. That's what HSB stands for. Hue, saturation, and bright. So let's see. I'm gonna sort of like this. App bar seems too big though. I'm just gonna take a call, make this 90. And how do I know this is good? How do I know what this is actually gonna look like on my phone? So Figma has something called Figma Mirror. I'll talk about that once we sort of design this to see how you can figure out what your app looks like and real-time feature.
Alright. I've got an idea to make wireframing in Figma super streamlined. So let's get to it. Ow. Alright, so here's the problem. Ideally, both of the other blocks will be the same, so I'll fast forward that section. Alright, so let's start off with an image block. And so we'll draw out a square, and images are usually 3 by 2, so we'll multiply this by 1.5, and that's our standard image aspect ratio. Let's make our blocks mobile first, so let's map that out on the mobile. Bring that over here. As for the fill, I was thinking that we could do like a light blue fill that won't stand out too much. Now obviously that's probably going to need a bit of a stroke as well. Now we'll also create like a little image icon for it. Now the other thing that I wanted to do was make these responsive so that they easily scale and fit into other components and that they can easily be placed on different device types. So currently, when we scale this, it doesn't really scale all that well. So let's see how we can fix that. So if we create a frame around this image, like so, now we start getting some more control over how these elements will resize inside of that frame. So the background, this rectangle, needs to scale in both directions, like so. I can test that out. So that's working as expected. And then this image icon, that needs to be centered in the frame. So that means now when we scale this frame, that image icon stays nicely put in the middle. So that's all that there is to making primitive blocks. So I'll speed through the other ones, and I might stop here and there if there's something interesting. Alright, the primitive blocks are now for the most part done. They're all very responsive, and that means we can now start making the next level of blocks using these primitive blocks. Alright, so just like with the primitive blocks, I'll go through one of the blocks and then I'll fast forward through the rest, stopping at any points that might be interesting. We'll start with an image link block because it should make a lot of use out of the blocks that we've already created. Okay, so we'll grab an image block and create a duplicate here. And we'll grab this content block and create a duplicate over here. Now looking at this content block, we might need to make some modifications and possibly create a new primitive block, but we'll see how we go. So the basic structure of creating the image link block was really easy. However, as you can see, the content block doesn't quite fit the structure that we need. So I'm going to make a small modification and create a new primitive block out of it. So I've quickly created a new primitive block that has a smaller heading that will hopefully be helpful for more of our general blocks. Now we can create a copy of this block, paste it over here. There we go. Now we can go grab this button as well. Alright, so as you can see, we've created a link block out of our 3 primitive components. Now the last thing that we need to do is make sure that it's responsive so that we can easily use it across multiple devices. And as you can see at the moment when we scale it, there's something funny happening with this button over here. So to do that, we're going to create and make a component. Make a component. We'll call it our image link block. Then we'll make sure that the text isn't overlapping this button. We'll just scale it up here. And then what we can do is we can set the constraints to top and bottom. And that keeps the distance from the top and the bottom of the frame constant. So as we now scale this component, you'll see that the text nicely cuts off just before it touches the button. The next thing is we don't want this button scaling like this. So if we click on this button and we select bottom, then when we scale this component, you'll see that the button no longer scales weirdly. So that's our image link block complete, and now I'll speak through the rest of the blocks and I'll stop if there's anything interesting. Alright, so one thing that I've noticed myself doing a lot is adjusting the padding on all of my blocks. And I was thinking, because Figma allows you to compose components inside one another and then swap them out whenever you want, we could create a padding component that we can put the contents inside of. And this could be a padding component for mobile, desktop, and tablet use. And then if ever we want to adjust the padding on anything, all we have to do is go adjust these 3 padding components rather than adjust all of these blocks individually. So let's give that a shot. Alright, let's try and create a new component to test this idea out. So if we create a frame, like so, and then inside that frame we can create a rectangle. Alright, so what we're going to do is create a component out of this, and we'll call this content. And now we can just adjust the padding to this to match our designs. Great. And then we'll set this to left and right, and top and bottom. So we can create a new component out of this now. Create component. We'll rename this component to padding regular. And then the other thing that we're going to want to do is remove the background. So then you have the padding, but no background fill. Let's create a duplicate of this now. And let's just try replace this content rectangle with something else. So let's go to our primitive blocks and replace this with a content block, like that. So at the moment it's a bit too big, but as you can see, now our content block has perfect padding, just as we want. And then we can create multiple versions of these blocks, like so. And then all we have to do is go adjust the padding in here, and all of the padding for all of the blocks will adjust nicely. Alright, so I've finished creating the padding blocks, and so I've created a quick test here to show you how they work. As you can see, they're all responsive, and you can put any kind of primitive block in them, and they all respond nicely like this. And then the nice thing is, if we ever decide that we want to change the padding, all we need to go do is actually change the original padding component, and all of the blocks using this padding will update nicely. How cool is that? Alright, so all of our blocks are using the padding components now. And so what that means is we can go in and change the padding, and you'll see that the padding for all of the blocks now updates, just like that. Alright, so there's a few final blocks that I'd like to add, so I'll quickly do those, and then we can finish up with the layer blocks.
Hey there, this is Jonathan, and in the following tutorial, we're going to take a look at one of my favorite applications. This is called Figma. Now, we're going to be looking at this software for the purposes of creating wireframes and being able to export our assets from those wireframes. So to begin, you'll see that I have a document already open, and we'll readdress that in just a second. I first want to begin by creating a frame to start to draw. So when I go to the frame tool over on the left-hand side, I'm going to choose the size that I want, and I'm generally going to choose the 1440 by 1080 size. And the reason why is because I want a nice full desktop size for what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to drag that bottom down just to make it a little bit longer. Maybe it doesn't have to be quite as long as the other ones. And then I can zoom in just by holding down the control key and the mouse wheel and zoom right in. One of the things I love about Figma is that it works much like a desktop application. And it's free, so it's a really, really great way to look. Now, when I've gotten up close, I still want to be on this particular desktop. It's a good idea for you to go ahead and double-click on the name and call it what it is. If this is the home page of your project, then call it that. Now, the next thing that I want to do is add some layout grids to this. So over on the right-hand side, you want to click on the plus, and you'll see here I've got a grid, which is 10 points. I might actually keep that on, and I'm going to add another one as well. And this particular grid, if I click on the box here on the left, is going to be a column grid, and I'm going to tell it to be centered, and I'm going to change it to 12 columns with a width of 60 for each column. Now what this does is this gives me a nice, fairly wide center column of 12 columns, I guess in the middle, which is much like you see with Bootstrap and Foundation and whatever else. Any graphics that I designed here that go across the full width of 1440 pixels will indeed be a full screen graphic. Anything that goes across the 12 columns will be what's called a contained graphic, or a contained section, possibly. Now, if you want to adjust your colors, you can definitely adjust them just to make things a little bit better for your needs, if that's what you like. I might actually keep the defaults. However, with with this right here, I might actually take this down just a little bit more, just to make that a little bit more subtle. But as you can see, if I zoom up, you'll see the pixel grid is really nice to have in conjunction with the column grid, just because it shows you exactly where you're snapping with those pixels. Now, in order to use this grid, the next thing that we need to start to do is add elements. So I'm going to start by creating a rectangular element that goes across this, and I'm going to go all the way across because I'm kind of doing the design of a banner or a hero image. And you'll see over on the right, I get to see the width and the height ratios. I actually got pretty good at 630, but you can always adjust this by maybe changing it to an actual number if you want, which is really, really quite nice. Now, once you have that basic element, you might want to go ahead and give it a name. So I'm going to call this thing my hero image, so I know that's going to be a hero image that's used. The next thing that I'm going to need is some text, so I'll go ahead and design some text real quick, start to type in it. Just going to be putting some text, although maybe I should say the heading here. And this heading is going to be aligned to the right-hand side. I'm going to select that text just so I can make it a little bit bigger. And I can even change the font so it's a little bit more bold. So obviously we can adjust our text and we can create multiple text elements as well. The other one that I want to show you though is creating a button. If we go to the rectangle tool and we design a rectangle that goes across here, then we can choose what color we want to make that rectangle. And then if we want to put text on top of it, unfortunately, we have to design an exterior piece of text, and I'll just do a quick text here, button title. I know it's not the right size, but I'll adjust that in just a second by changing the font size. And then I'm going to move it so it's down on top of that element here. And you can see we can kind of stretch it to fit the entire box. What's nice about this is that if you tell it to be centered horizontally and centered vertically, it'll go right in the center of your box. Then you can change the color, and you can change the size so it's appropriate to fitting that box. And if you need a different size, like 32 maybe, just type it right in. Now, if you look over on your left-hand side, you'll see that you have both the button rectangle title and the rectangle that are two separate elements. And what you want to do is group these with Control-G. You might be also able to right-click and choose Group Selection. Then we'll call this my CTA button, and we've got a lot better organization. The last thing that we want to be able to do with any of our sections is organize these things by making this entire section a group. And this is really important that you have the size that you need before you make it a group. So now that I have all of that selected, you'll see they're all selected over here. You can right-click and choose Group, or just do Control-G. And now I can call this my hero. Now remember, when you design your different sections, like the ones I have here, I'm designing just with grayscale at first, just to kind of get the basic layout. But you always want to design from the top down. So here's my hero section, and my hero section right now is actually on the bottom. And then we have our info boxes next. We want to reverse that order, so we design from the top down, and then inside of the section, we want to design from the left to the right. And if you notice, I have my first info box, my second info.
Welcome to another Figma tutorial. Styles are a big improvement to Figma, and in this video, we're going to show you how to create them so you can start using them throughout your designs. Before we get started, let's start by answering the question, what are styles? Styles allow you to save certain properties and then later reuse them across your designs. You can use styles to define your brand's colors, typography, effects, and layout grids. Your color styles can be then applied to fills, strokes, and text in your designs. Your styles can also be published to your team library and accessed by everyone on your team. If you don't yet have a Figma team to publish your styles to, you can create a free starter team by clicking the New Team button in the file browser. Now that we know what styles are, let's try making some, starting with the color style. Let's start by drawing a circle using the ellipse tool. By default, our shape's fill color will be a neutral gray. If we look to the fill section of the properties panel on the right-hand side, we can change this to a custom fill color, just as we could before styles were introduced. Let's change this to a darker custom gray color. If we plan on using the same gray across our design, it would be smart for us to save this as a color style so we can manage it and reuse it. Looking back to the Layers panel, we can click on the quadruple dot icon to show styles. We haven't made any styles yet, so right now this is empty. We can create a new color style from our fill color by clicking the plus icon. We'll also give this a name. I'm going to name it primary text because I want to use this as the default text color for a website I'm designing. Then you just click Create Style and we're done. Our style has been created and now appears in the Styles picker that was previously empty. The Properties panel also looks a bit different now. Where we used to have the custom color picker, we now see our color style. It's important to understand that the circle on the canvas is not our style, but is actually just a circle object with our color style applied to it. If we choose to delete the circle, our style will not be deleted because each style belongs to the file in which it was created as a local style and not to the element to which it was applied. If you want to view your local styles, just click on the canvas to deselect everything, and your local styles will be displayed in the Properties panel on the right. To actually delete a style, you can right-click it in the list and select Delete Style. You can also edit a style from here, but we'll show you another way to do this next. Let's duplicate our circle to demonstrate a few more things. Now we have two circles, each with our primary text color style applied to them. With one circle selected, if we hover over the style, two new options appear. Edit Style and Detach Style. If we click Edit Style, the Properties panel is replaced by the Style Editor, where we can edit our style's name and properties. If we change the color of the style, each element that has the style applied will be updated instantly. Let's undo that change for now. We can click the back arrow in the top left, or click on the canvas to return to the normal view. If we have a shape with a style applied to it, but we'd rather use the custom color picker, we can select Detach Style to remove the style. Now, if we were to update our gray style, this circle will no longer be affected by that change. Now that we know how to create color styles, let's create a few more before moving on. As I create these styles, I'm trying not to include a color like blue or yellow in the name. Instead, we're giving them names describing their use in applications.
This helps us in case we want to change that yellow to green in the future, so we don't have to change the name of our style. It's also possible to save gradients and even images as color styles in Figma. Let's make a gradient style to complement our existing solid color styles. I'm also going to adjust the angle of the gradient, since the angle is also included in the style. Just like that, we've created a handful of color styles to be used across our designs. It's not required to create all of your styles right away before you start working. It's okay to just create new styles as you use colors, text, and effects in your work. Your color styles aren't just limited to being used as fills, you can also use them for strokes. If we create a new rectangle shape, we can go to the stroke section of the Properties panel, click the quadruple dot icon to open the style picker, and our color styles we created earlier are ready to be used. We can still adjust other properties of the stroke, like the weight. Styles can also be applied to typography. Here we have 7 different text elements that we're going to turn into text styles. I filled each of these text objects with some descriptive text just to speed up the process and clarify their properties. We can create text styles in the same way, by clicking the styles icon, clicking the plus icon, giving them a name, and saving the style. With our text styles created, we'll be able to apply them to text or even substrings of a single text element. Now that we understand the process of creating styles, let's create a few effect styles and a layout grid style. For some of these, we're adding 2 different drop shadows. One harder shadow with less blur, and then another softer shadow with more blur applied. If you apply multiple properties of the same type, such as 2 different drop shadows, all of them will be included in the style when it's created. Last, we'll create a single 12-column layout grid style. And that's it. We've created color, text, effect, and layout grid styles, each ready to be used in our designs. Let's review what we've learned. Styles allow you to save properties and then later reuse them across your designs, and if you update your style, the properties will instantly update across the file. You can make color styles which can be applied to fills, strokes, and text. You can also create text, effect, and layout grid styles. When you create a style, it belongs to the file in which it was created as a local style. Publish them to the team library to be shared with your team. You don't need to create your styles before you start designing. Create them whenever it makes sense. Welcome to another Figma tutorial. Styles are a big improvement to Figma, and in this video, we're going to show you how to create them so you can start using them throughout your designs. Before we get started, let's start by answering the question, what are styles? Styles allow you to save certain properties and then later reuse them across your designs. You can use styles to define your brand's colors, typography, effects, and layout grids. Your color styles can be then applied to fills, strokes, and text in your designs. Your styles can also Welcome to another Figma tutorial. In this video, we're going to teach you the basics of components. We'll show you how they can be a powerful addition to your designs. Components are UI elements that can be reused across your design files. They help make your designs more consistent and allow for changes to be made quickly. You can create a component from layers, groups, and frames. When we think about components, we also need to think about instances. The master component, or just component for short, is created first and is responsible for defining many of the styles of the UI element. A component instance is a single occurrence of the master component. When the master component is updated, all of the instances are updated automatically. To create a new component, we first need to select the layers to be included. Here, we have an orange rectangle and a text layer, which we would like to use to create a button component. We can drag to select both layers and click the component icon in the toolbar to create our first component. We can also use the Option-Command-K shortcut, or right-click and select Create Component from the menu. In the Layers panel, we see the purple master component icon indicating that we have created a component. We can also see that our 2 layers are nested within that newly created component. You may have many components in a single file. To view all of the components in a file, select the Components tab at the bottom of the Layers panel, or use the keyboard shortcut Option 2. How do we reuse a component? We do this by creating a component instance, or just instance for short. There are several ways to create instances from components. With our component selected, we can create a duplicate of a master component by selecting it and using the shortcut Command T. Hold down the Alt key, click, and drag out an instance from the component. Copy and paste it to another location with the Command C and Command V shortcuts. Or, from the Components tab, click and drag a copy onto the canvas. We can see in the Layers panel that master components have a quadruple diamond icon, while an instance has a single diamond icon. Eventually, you may have many instances of components in your file. To quickly locate the master component, right-click on an instance and choose Go to Master Component, or select it from the Properties panel. Let's see how the relationship between components and instances work. On the left, we have our component, and on the right, an instance of our component. When we change the background of the button inside the master component, the instance is automatically updated. Imagine we are designing a website where several buttons are used. To do this without components, we would need to manually change the background color for all of the buttons. However, when using components, only the master component needs to be changed and all of the instances are updated. Changes made to an instance's properties are called overrides. Overrides allow designers to create variations on the original component. If changes are made to the master component, the overrides on our instance remain unchanged. Examples of properties that can be overridden are text properties, fill, stroke, effects like shadows and blurs, and bounding box dimensions. However, properties that affect the layout of layers within an instance are not overridable. Examples of these types of properties include size, position, rotation, constraint settings, layer hierarchy, point, and Bezier positions. If we want to clear overrides from our instances, we can select the things that we want to reset and choose Reset Instance from the top toolbar. You can also reset instance in the Properties panel. It is possible to detach a component instance from its master component. Doing this will prevent the instance from inheriting changes made to the component. With an instance selected, use Option Command V or choose Detach Instance from the Instance section in the Properties panel. Alternatively, right-click on the instance and select Detach Instance. If you accidentally create a component and want to break or undo that action, you can create an instance of the component, detach the instance, then delete the component. If a master component was accidentally deleted, restoring it is easy. Find an instance of the component, click Restore Master Component in the Instance section of the Properties panel. If we resize a layer within a component, which either reduces or grows the size of the component, we notice the original dimensions of the component bounding box remain the same. To update the dimensions of our component, select it and click Resize to Fit in the Properties panel. You can also double-click on the bounding box. This will resize the bounding box of the component and any instances to fit the layers inside. Resize to Fit is not available for instances. Let's review what we've learned today. Create master components using the Option Command K shortcut. Component instances are an occurrence of the master and update automatically. Open the Components tab by using the Option 2 shortcut. Overrides change the properties of instances. Use Resize to Fit to resize the bounding box of a master component.
We are testing the Osmo Pocket. DJI's new gimbal camera is tiny and shoots smooth 4K video. But how does it compare to full-size or smartphone cameras? Take a look. Shooting hyperlapse videos is really easy with the Osmo Pocket. The active track feature automatically keeps the subject centered, whether it's a person or an object. Here, the Osmo is automatically tracking this video, keeping it in the center of the frame while I walk in a different direction. It doesn't load hyperlapse automatically. I had to speed this footage up 1000% and apply a stabilizer in post-production. But that was easy to do, and the Osmo Pocket's gimbal allowed me to keep the footage really stable.